Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secureteam. Today I want to talk about a very, very mysterious topic that I don't believe I've actually ever spoken about on the channel. Now, I'm sure some of you may have heard of this. However, I know a lot of you, especially the new subscribers, of which there are 90,000 of you that have just subscribed this month, that may not know about this, and I think it's an extremely interesting and mysterious topic of research, and you'll understand why in a moment. However, I also want to mention that our most recent video about the mind-boggling UFO sighting that happened over Dayton, Ohio, near the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, has not only gone viral, but has actually been picked up by a variety of national and international news outlets, and was actually featured live on the Fox and Friends morning show on the Fox News channel. And it's actually on their website as well, and there's a video clip that I will post a link to down in the video description. If you haven't seen that, it's actually pretty awesome. So again, big thanks to all of you for sharing the footage, and it's some amazing footage. I know I say that for everything. You guys are probably sick of hearing the quote, amazing footage. However, it's footage, and it's amazing. So anyway, back to the topic at hand and of this video, which is the Denver International Airport. Now, there have been a range of conspiracy theories, so-called, about the Denver International Airport. The most known is that this Denver airport, which is, by the way, the largest airport in the United States, is likely a massive base. Well, the base is actually said to be underground. And we know for a fact, and we'll show you some evidence here in a moment, that would prove this to be the case, and that basically the airport is going to be a major hub and mechanism in the continuity of government process. And it's almost as if they've built this airport with some sort of information that we don't know about, that something bad is going to happen in the near future. So, this airport opened its doors on February 28, 1995, after falling behind a year, and were a year behind schedule, and spending about $2 billion more than its original budget had dictated. And this massive airport, I mean, you're seeing pictures of it here, it's very odd looking, and again, we'll talk about that more here in just a second, but it's massive, and is around 53 square miles large. Now, since they built this massive airport, you may be thinking, well, maybe Denver just needed a new airport. Unfortunately, Denver did not need a new airport. Denver already had a completely functional airport called Stapleton that many people liked just fine. It's a well-known airport, and it was only 6 miles from Denver. So they didn't need a new airport, but they built one, spending billions of dollars. And once it was built, people began noticing and worrying about some hints that they were seeing around the airport that would seem to indicate that the airport was hiding something a little bit more sinister. Visitors to the airport immediately noticed a number of mysterious Masonic symbols, murals, images, writing that depicted the end of the world. And you're seeing some of those images here. And a lot of these things are linked directly to the New World Order and the Freemasons. So this here is the Mustang, which you are greeted with when first arriving at the airport. And you look at this thing, and it's a big demonic blue Mustang sitting up back on its hind legs with red demonic glowing eyes. And it was one of the earliest public art commissions for the airport in 1993. And oddly enough, the artist, Luis Jimenez, died in 2006 while creating the sculpture when the head fell on him and severed an artery in his leg. So then we have these very scary, to many people, murals that are very shocking, that depict images of people dying, children dying, these long lines of people that look to be diseased. We have this very scary figure standing here in an officer's uniform, carrying a sword in one hand and an AK-47 in the other, complete with a gas mask, implying that the instrument of death in this case is a biological weapon. And these murals are everywhere. And here's another image of one here, set against a backdrop of what looks like a massive solar flare, causing, destruction and extinction, with various of species dying, from whales and animals to people. We have a forest in the background burning down, and you'll even notice here that there's a little girl holding a Mayan tablet, also alluding to the end of the world. And you'll also notice, going around the airport, that there are these stone plaques with very mysterious engravings, alluding to Masonic symbolism. One of these engravings is right here. Now, as you're seeing, AUAG are actually the symbols for gold and silver on the periodic table. However, you may have a different view of the meaning of this when you figure out that one of the founders of the airport also is the man who discovered a new deadly strain of hepatitis known as Australia antigen, also called AUAG. And it's been rumored that this AUAG could be a very potent biological weapon for future warfare. So then we move on to another very mysterious stone block that is right in the entrance. And by the way, an interesting fact is that nobody really knows who paid for the Denver airport and its construction. However, all we do know is the fact that this dedication stone with this Freemason symbol in the middle, as you're seeing. And some very odd things are written here. The first one is the quote here that says, "The time capsule beneath this stone contains messages and memorabilia to the people of Colorado in 2094. So, why 2094? Again, do they know something we don't? And when you take in all of the evidence about DIA, and sometimes I will reference the Denver International Airport as DIA to cut down on time. So it's very eerie, and it reminds me of the Georgia Guidestones, which we will also talk about here in just a minute. But again, very odd. So then, under this Masonic symbol, we have another quote that says, "New World Airport Commission." And it sounds innocent enough until you find out that the New World Airport Commission does not exist. And, I mean, you just look at the name of it. New World Airport. As opposed to what? The old world? The world that we are all living in now? The world that may have existed when the future people of 2094 look back on this and think of the old world? So again, you have to read between the lines. And it's all very cryptic. So here's some more very interesting and delightful imagery as you're walking through the airport, as you have this massive stone demon coming up out of a suitcase, greeting you on your way to your flight. There's nothing like going to the airport, especially if you have a fear of flying. You've got your suitcase in your hand and you see this big beautiful statue of a demon coming up out of a suitcase, almost as if to say, "Have a nice flight." So, it's all very strange for an airport, and I would be frightened if I saw that thing. I already have a fear of planes, which is why I usually drive to places when I go on vacation, especially with all of the planes that are disappearing and vanishing these days. And if I saw that thing while I was going to my plane, it'd be a done deal. People talk about these bunkers, that there's this massive 360,000 square foot underground base used in the continuity of government when the shit hits the fan. Now, this image you're seeing here is actually a blueprint of 5 buildings that were mysteriously buried during the early days of construction on the airport. And these 5 large buildings were fully constructed. However, afterward, they were deemed to have been, quote, positioned incorrectly. So what did they do? Did they demolish the buildings like any other person would? No. They decided that rather than be demolished, that the buildings were ordered to be buried. And apparently now, and according to an airport spokesman, these buildings are now being used as, quote, storage. And it's no secret that there is an underground structure beneath the airport, because they've actually created tramways down there, tunnels for trains, and so-called storage. And if you'll remember, when there was all this controversy about the comet Elenin and how it was going to pass by Earth, and a lot of people thought that it was going to hit Earth because it did have a very odd trajectory. And if you'll remember that just as that happened, President Obama, oddly enough, was in Denver on September 27th when comet Elenin passed by Earth, barely missing us by about 22 miles. So you have this massive airport that didn't need to be built, that has these massive underground facilities, that has all this Masonic, world-ending art and murals and stone blocks throughout, and demons. And then you have the president who arrives at this airport on the very day that a comet may have likely almost hit Earth. Again, it all goes back to continuity of government. And then we have the odd runway shape, which many have spoken on, of the fact that it looks like a swastika. And you're seeing an aerial view of that runway shape here. And again, the airport is home to a number of tunnels, including a tram that goes between concourses. And it also is interesting to note that there is a failed automated bagging system that they spent millions of dollars creating even more underground storage room, in quotations, when they basically tried to create an automated bagging system that basically never worked. I mean, the system failed spectacularly when it was first tested, and was actually one of the reasons for the DIA's delayed opening. And by 2005, most of the airport's concourses had abandoned this system totally, and they never seemed to try to fix it, and it was just as if it was a cover-up, just as the buildings that were buried for storage uses is a cover-up. Another interesting thing to note is the fact that there is a landfill located just 2 miles west that was actually added onto in the early 2000s, despite the airport's appeal to the district court against the landfill in 2002. However, the landfill has a very real and functioning element to it, but is supposedly mocked up to look like a landfill, but is hiding something much more sinister. And people who have driven by this airport have seen these massive tunnels sitting above ground near this landfill, as if there is still construction going on. And they're still laying these massive tunnels underground. And a whistleblower came out a couple years back and even reported that yes, this is a militarized, continuity of government, rigged base, which under the cover of daylight is acting as an airport. And that they are using this so-called landfill as a means to dispose of the dirt that they are digging up. This massive amount of dirt that they've been recently adding to this landfill that's coming from somewhere, because the construction around the airport is finished. And yet they come day after day hauling dump trucks full of dirt that they have unearthed and are digging from somewhere. So again, it's all very interesting, and it reminds me of the Georgia Guidestones, which is this very mysterious pair of stones in Georgia. It's a granite monument erected in 1980. No one knows who erected it, who paid for it. However, it does basically have a set of guidelines inscribed on the structure in 8 different languages, talking about how there should only be a maximum of 500 million people on the earth, and, you know, talking about population control and all these other eerie things. So research the Georgia Guidestones as well. And it's very similar to this airport. There's a lot of mystery to the airport. No one knows who paid for it. No one knows who's behind it. We have all this Masonic and demonic imagery alluding to the end of the world, and to that it seems like someone out there is in the know and has information leading me to believe that they know something is going to happen. So let me know what you guys think. It's all very interesting. Do your own research, and yeah, if you visit this airport, you'll see what I'm talking about. So again, thanks for watching. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe. We have a whole lot more coming for you, and we'll see you back soon. Stay safe, guys.